The diseased. The mutated. This is Nidus, the infested Warframe. Nidus focuses on damage dealing, along with survivability. Understanding Nidus takes understanding one extra thing. Part of his passive, his mutation stacks. Some of Nidus's abilities generate stacks of mutation up to 100 stacks at maximum, while the other two use mutation instead of energy. Mutation enhances some of his abilities, but has one primary usage. The main part of Nidus's passive utilizes mutation to prevent death so long as he possesses 15 stacks. Upon preventing death, Nidus uses up those 15 stacks and becomes invulnerable for 5 seconds, and regains half of his health. This passive has absolutely no cooldown, meaning so long as you manage to keep up at least 15 mutation, Nidus can essentially just survive death immediately after as many times as it takes. This is one of the most useful passives, I think, because having no limits to the amount of revives he can have makes him incredibly useful for survivability. So as long as you're constantly building them, Nidus is essentially immortal. Nidus is also able to regenerate a small amount of health each second. Slamming his foot into the ground, Nidus produces piercing tendrils of infestation using virulence. Virulence? Virulence? Virulence. Virulence. Virulence damages enemies in front of Nidus, dealing puncture damage. The damage from increases with more mutation stacks, which is convenient, because enemies struck by— I really shouldn't have written this as much as I did— produce mutation stacks for each 5 hits. Additionally, each hit will restore Nidus's energy for a quarter of the cost of virulence. Virulence is important to generating mutation Virulence is important to generating mutation quickly, so long as enemies are grouped up enough. Hurling an infested pod, larva spawns a creature that grabs nearby enemies with its tentacles and pulls them in. Enemies are ragdolled and unable to act for the duration. Any enemies killed while held by larva will contribute to mutation stacks. Because enemies are held all together, larva makes it easier to hit enemies with virulence, and makes it easier to gain its benefits. This can allow Nidus to just keep generating mutation and energy, so long as he has the larva out. Sprouting a tendril from his body, Parasitic Link is Nidus's primary survival tool outside of his passive. When targeted at an enemy, Parasitic Link will make that enemy unable to act, and immune to ally damage. A portion of damage taken by Nidus, however, will be redirected to that enemy. If Nidus instead targets an ally with Parasitic Link, both he and his linked target will gain increased ability strength and weapon damage for the duration. This ability uses mutation stacks to cast instead of energy. Fortunately, when linked, Virulence will create a second instance located at the linked target, letting you generate stacks much faster. I recommend always having Parasitic Link active for its bonuses, whether that be on an enemy or an ally, since it only costs 1 stack to cast. Calling up the ancient power of the infestation, Ravenous creates an area of infestation. While within the infestation, Nidus has increased health regen every second. Maggots will spawn periodically within the infested area and latch onto enemies within range. Maggots will deal toxin damage and stun enemies continuously until they expire. If killed, hit by virulence, the host dies, or ravenous expires, the maggots will explode and deal blast damage in a small AoE. Enemies hit by the AoE contribute to mutation stacks, which is good, because Ravenous costs 3 mutation stacks to cast. The maggots possess 1000 base health, and will draw enemy fire, taking a bit of stress off of Nidus and his allies. Nidus can be one of the most difficult Warframes to kill, and his abilities are a lot of fun for people that like playing a monster. At rank 30, Nidus has 555 HP, no shields, 450 armor, and 150 energy. He has a Matter Eye aura, along with 1 Matter Eye and 1 Vazarin polarity. Nidus Prime has an additional 95 HP, 75 armor, and 40 energy, along with an additional Naramon polarity. Nidus' primary blueprint is awarded at the end of the quest, the Glassed Gambit, while his Neuroptics, Systems, and Chassis drop from C rotations from the Infested Salvage mission on Eris. Now let's see Nidus in action one last time. The system is infected, Tenno. Nidus is its vaccine.